Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Niall Sullivan.
And actually, that's a nice sort of segue into my next question, and it's more about that framework degree, or your lovely other acronym you gave it. How I've forgotten it already, but that's fine. I don't know.
There's two E's in that one though, so we're a bit closer to.
True, that is true. But with the degree framework, I guess the question is, how do you apply it in the real world, as it were? I mean, maybe we could go through it letter by letter. I thought maybe that'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose so from a decarbonisation point of view, it's probably focusing in on your gas, your electric, that you're using, your water usage that you've got on your facility. And for a start off, measuring that if you're not measuring it, and then using that as that baseline then as, right, okay, where have you got opportunities within your processes to, if what we did in Congleton was we had an energy team. So we had representatives from the engineering teams, from production, and from our facilities team that actually work together on operational efficiencies. So what's in our gift in the manufacturing to be able to optimize, and then from a building point of view, what are the opportunities there? So it might be solar power as a green energy. It might be biogas that you purchase. It's what else is there from a water point of view? I'm just trying to think what else there is. From a facilities point of view, one of the things that we did was around the windows. So they weren't double glazed. So that might sound like a simple thing, but that's quite a big job when you get into to changing the windows on a whole factory. Putting LED lighting in. So there's sort of from a decarbonisation from a factory point of view, that was how I'd put a team together, involve the operations, involve the facilities, involve the engineering teams, to look at what you can do within your own operations to cut energy costs, your water usage, your gas, your electric. But then from a building point of view and an infrastructure, what are the opportunities there to look at renewable energy, to look at, we did a project with a local community because we've got the River Dane that runs at the bottom of the road where the factory is. Fun fact, it's the fastest flowing river in the northwest. So
Wow.
But and so if you've been on a history tour of Congleton like I have, you will know that there used to be lots of mills on the river, and so one of the old mills, or one of the areas where they've got a weir anyway, where there's a step down in the river. Is a place called Havana, which is half a mile up the river. And so there's been a local community project for hydroelectricity where they've implemented an Archimedes screw, plus a lot of our control equipment that's donated, plus support from other local businesses in Congleton. So harnessing the power of the River Dane, and that energy is directly linked to cabled back to the factory. So we buy that energy, that renewable energy, back off from the local community project. So, not everyone's going to do that, but it's just an example of a really good example of a community project where they've done a fantastic job of actually, there's an opportunity here to create renewable energy with what we've got, because we've got the River Dane at the end of the road. So yeah, but not everyone's got a river at the end of the road, but that's just an example of working together with the community, I guess, and putting technology in, some of it mega old, an Archimedes screw, but new technology as well in terms of the control equipment to be able to harness that. So yeah, decarbonisation, that's probably one way to go. I think one of the areas that within that around scope 3, so going back to our supply base and obviously to our customer base as well, there's definitely more work for us to do in terms of working closer with our suppliers. I think we're on that journey, but yeah, I think if I'm reading off here, so net zero supply chain by 2050, 20% emission reduction by 2030. So that's the target that Siemens is committed to. And yeah, it's a journey, but one where we have to work together with our supplier base to understand what it is that they're doing, how we can support them as Siemens, and make sure that that their operations are as sustainable as they can be, and what emissions that they have in the manufacturing of components that come into our products.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point with suppliers, and supply chain. Like I said, it can't be just a Siemens thing to resolve. It's it's a community or an ecosystem.
Yeah.
But there must be a lot of challenges to overcome with that. I mean, that doesn't sound like a simple thing to achieve, to align all of that.
No, I think it's, and I am not an expert in terms of from a supply chain point of view, but sure. I think there is challenges in terms of visibility of that. Getting the data. It's hard enough getting your own operations data, let alone going into other people's businesses and asking for that information and getting visibility of that is, I can imagine, quite challenging. So, but I think that's what we're committed to doing, to having a net zero supply chain by 2050. But yeah, it's definitely a journey for sure.
No, exactly. Not something overnight. And so we moved to E, or the first E.
Yes, right. So ethics. So this one, and the target that we've got here is that 100% of our employees go through the business conduct guidelines. So these are guidelines that we have in terms of a responsible way of working that Siemens that Siemens has mandated effectively that we want to work to. We want to be a responsible business that is working in an ethical way with in all the countries that we operate in, and for us it's all about ethical business. So yeah, that's the main target on that one in terms of getting everybody through the business conduct guidelines. And I can't remember if it's every year or I think it's every 3 years now. I'm reading it. But yeah, I think we were very close from a DI. I think we had a few people either off sick or on holiday, not on holiday, but off sick. But yeah, I think it's a good one to strive for. Obviously, that making sure that everybody is clear, regardless of what position you're in, of how we conduct business on a global basis, and that applies everywhere, regardless of where you work, of which country you're in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Governance. What have we got? So yeah, I think this is all around like the ESG governance. Let me have a read of this. So ESG secures supply chain based on supplier commitment to a code of conduct. So having 100% of suppliers committed to that, which I think that's already in place actually. And long-term incentives based on ESG criteria. Again, I think that they're in the process. Those criteria are still ongoing. So yeah, it's making sure that we've got that, again, similar to the conduct guidelines, I guess, but how the rules of engagement with our supply chain, that people are, and that we've got that governance that makes sure that the management systems are in place, the management systems of our supply, for us, of our suppliers are in place, and that we know that's on a good trajectory, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that it's supported as well. So yeah, that's the G. Resource efficiency. So this is where the eco design comes in. So 100. The target is next level robust eco design for 100% relevant Siemens product families by 2030. So I think that we're at 35%. And the aim is at the moment that is it's 100% by 2030. And this was effectively like an environmental protection standard, and that making sure that we do assessments of product portfolio elements that were agreed, I guess, at a BU level and a HQ level, so that we're clear on what the environmental impacts of products are against the ISO standards that are applicable. and that is documented in environmental protection I always forget this acronym, EPDs. Environmental product declarations. So again, that everything that to do with the impact that product is having on the environment is documented in an environmental product declaration, again against the relevant ISO standards, and that also we are assessing our factories and our processes to make sure they're as efficient as possible for how we're going to manufacture them, and that the materials that we're picking are selected in the best way, such that there's a potential that they can be reused at a later date. You know, the aim, I think, eventually being that you can disassemble our portfolio elements and then utilize those components in future portfolios, i.e. then that those parts are designed back into new portfolio elements or the next generation of portfolio elements. So that's what the resource efficiency is all about. It's also, if I'm, pardon my reading, but so increased purchase of secondary materials for metals and resins. So again, this is, you know, making use of reused or reusing materials. So, but I think there's a bit to go on this. So metals are at 34% secondary, and resins, we've got a long way to go. It's less than 1%. And then, there's a circularity through waste to landfill reduction of 50% by 2025 and zero landfill waste by 2030. So Congleton, we're already a zero waste to landfill, and I think our main suppliers in the UK are already zero waste to landfill. But I wouldn't want to, just not knowing all the sites, I wouldn't want to say that they're all exactly zero waste to landfill. But I think a big chunk of the UK facilities are anyway. So I think that's that's in a good way. From an equity point of view, we've spoken about one. I got the percentage wrong. It's actually 30% female share of top management by 2025. So I said 25. The aim is 30, and we are currently at 27.7. So they've got scope. What do you reckon? They've got scope to move that higher.
Oh, I'd say so. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Not to commit anyone. That's just our personal opinions.
Only our personal opinions, of course.
Then under equity as well, I think part of this is wanting Siemens employees to actually own as much as the company as possible, certainly encouraging people to. So access to employee share plans, maintain a high level and expanding globally to 100%. I think we're currently, it says we're at 99%, but I guess it's like they want that level to remain strong. The access that people have to those share matching schemes, etc., which is good. And a global commitment to the new normal way of working model. So that's already been rolled out, and Siemens has committed. So Roland Busch, I think, committed a couple of years ago, didn't he, to the new way of working of hybrid, like 2 days, 1 week, 2 to 3 days a week of working in the office, depending on your role, obviously. Bit harder for people in factories. But so that was the equity piece. And then employability is increasing digital learning hours to 25 hours per year by 2025, I think. And then we're currently at 21 hours. So it's tracking learning hours and giving people opportunity to spend time on learning and promoting a growth mindset of employees. Because I know I've heard lots of people talk about, I hear Roland Busch talking about it all the time, that actually, if we're going to be a sustainable business over the long term, we need to be constantly learning new things. We need to be open to the fact that where we are now is just where we are now. We need to always be, you don't know what you don't know. You need to be learning and constantly being open to new ways of doing things, and being passionate about being curious, I guess, and thinking, right, what else is there to know? How can we make sure that we're in a good footing over the long term, and that we're constantly evolving. We're, reinventing ourselves all the time. So I think having, encouraging people a learning culture is really important. I'll go last two, and then I'll let you have a word in. Sorry.
No, that's right.
So under employability, access to an employee assistance program, so maintaining that at a high level, and expand to 100% by 2025. So it's currently at 87%. This was at the end of last financial year, so the end of September 2022. So yeah, giving people the opportunity to access that employee assistance program, which provides lots of different reasons. Assistant, effectively giving them opportunity to talk to different people and offer that support. And then 30% improvement in Siemens globally aggregated lost time incident frequency rate by 2025. So reducing our lost time through accidents, I guess, or as a target. So that was they're all of the global targets. We'll have to see, but me and you will have to have another session in a year's time and see where we go after we've got the latest one out and we see what the progress is.
That's a challenge. That's a challenge I accept. And actually, on the learning front, that's something that's really impressed me since we've become part of Siemens. All the learning initiative and My Learning World, which we use. And actually, for those for any of our colleagues who are listening today, by listening to this podcast, it counts towards your learning hours. So just as a little plug there, but any of our podcasts, I should say, actually.
You need to put that on the when you post them anywhere, like this counts to your learning hours.
Well, exactly, but it's just, and it just shows. And I have that mindset as well, but it just proves that you can learn from anywhere, really. And it doesn't, because you think learning, you think courses or not that there's anything wrong with that, of course, or documentation.
No, there isn't. But you think that's how we've been conditioned, isn't it? To it's if you're on a course or if you're on a degree or if you're on a college course, and then that's the only thing that is actually learning. But there's different people learn in different ways, though, don't they, as well? So I think it's good having all these different forums and different ways of doing things.
Yeah, I mean, I learn. Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts, which is probably unsurprising what I do. I do read as well, but a lot. I mean, who are the people you follow? So who do you like? If we're talking about learning and stuff, and in your particular role, like who do you follow? I know you're very active on LinkedIn as well. Is there any sort of influencers that sort of you look up to?
I mean, I like listening to the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, because he puts out about a couple of podcasts a week, but they're always different people, and you can, even if you pick up a couple of things in each and they're generally about an hour and a half, aren't they? But and then they're normally obviously promoting something, or you've got a book out, but there's loads of good insights from people that I hear off of. So I first heard about Ryan Holiday off one of Stephen Bartlett's, and he is all about stoicism. And so since I listened to that podcast, I've bought a couple of his books and have been reading The Daily Stoic, which I totally recommend for anyone. It's just a nice little per day, and it's all about taking responsibility of not letting outer things control you, accepting stuff for how it is, but it's about how you respond to things. And I think that goes quite nicely with a growth mindset. You are where you are now, but it's not where you have to be. It's how you approach it, and that will ultimately define where you end up. So the Stephen Bartlett Diary of a CEO, they're really good. About 3 hours a day. I'm listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger's new book, the seven tools to being useful at the moment. Right. So I'll let you know about that one when I've finished it. But his is quite good. I don't know if you've watched his Netflix, but that was also really really inspiring. But I think sometimes there's so much content out there, isn't there, that I was getting lost in. You think, oh God, right, I want to listen to this, I want to listen to that, or I want to read this and read that. And then I ended up oh my God, I don't know where to start because there's so much. So I whittled it down to like, right, I'm going to listen to Steve Bartlett once because, he's always got different people on. So you're learning something different. And and that way I don't get lost in too much. And of course I listen to Roland Unplugged,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah. Of course.
So
I was waiting.
it's good.
I was waiting for that. And you can add trend detection to your list as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On your podcast near you, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, wherever you get your podcast. Siemens Podcast Network first of all, and every other one after that, I should say. But no, that's pretty cool. And the other reason I was sort of going on to that, because you talked about equity, and I actually put it as our last. We talked about not doing the questions in order. That's how they come up, but because we're talking about it, I think it's quite an important one. So that diversity, equity, inclusion. And I follow you. I'm connected to you on LinkedIn. So not follow doesn't sound so nice, does it?
Yeah, we're connected.
We're connected, aren't we? Yeah. But so it's just, it comes across massively, obviously, how passionate you are and how involved you are. I'm just sort of really intrigued where that sort of comes from. Is it a personal story? Is it through working at Siemens? Is it a bit of both? But I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just been, I think more on the whole diversity side. If you go into a room of people and you tend to gravitate towards someone that either looks like you or is the same gender. If there's a room full of women and there was one bloke, you'd probably shuffle over there and maybe have a chat with them first, or you'd but so it's nice to have a more diverse group of people, and I think, like I said, we were talking about before, diversity equals productivity at the end of the way, Dave. You can think of different ways of doing things, and the more different groups, not just gender, but different groups of people that we Siemens can bring into the business, the more different outlooks that it can only be a good thing. We'll have different ways of looking at things and different ways of solving problems. We'll come up with new technologies, and we'll have different innovations because we've got different ways of thinking. If you've got everybody who's got all the same experiences and the same background, then you're just going to get the same, and we're not going to do anything differently. And if we're going to be sustainable over the long term, which we want to be another 100 and however many, 76, 77 years now, then absolutely we need to be creating an environment where everyone feels welcome. So not just women, not just minority, everybody feels welcome, that they can be their whole selves, that they can feel comfortable when they come into work, and then as a result be as creative as they want to be, and and think and feel safe, so that they're able to focus in on what it is that's important for helping us as a business in the long term and helping them grow as individuals. So I'm passionate about getting more women into manufacturing and engineering, but I'm also passionate about making sure that everybody feels included, and that we create, an industry, and in our case, a company where everyone in the whole company feels that they are safe working here, and that they feel valued, and that their voice feels heard. But there's a lot less women in manufacturing and engineering. So I like promoting. So last week we had it was it was the 31st of October, Halloween, but that's got no bearing on it. But it might make people remember when they look back. We had the Women in Manufacturing event at the Manufacturing Technology Centre that was organised by the Innovate UK Knowledge Transfer Network, and so Dr. Megan Ronan and also the IFM, so the Institute for Manufacturing from the University of Cambridge, or Cambridge University, I never get which way around it is. And that's a lady called Kate Wilshire. So between those two fabulous ladies, they organised it all, and I was able to join one of the panels, and we ran some of the sessions in the afternoon. But I think one of the things that came out, or lots of things came out, but one of the things that came out was just the image of manufacturing, and trying to get more, I'll say females, but diverse images of people within manufacturing, within engineering out there, so that people see that it's not just how it's always been, and that actually we want to encourage a diverse population of people in manufacturing and in engineering. And yeah, like more stuff came out. So another couple of examples is unconscious bias. So yeah, I just said I started the conversation, but actually that is an unconscious bias when if you're going into a room and just looking for what is exactly like you, then it's making sure that you recognize that as well, particularly if you're in a recruitment position and looking at, we said it's important to look at ways in the recruitment process where you try and make it you avoid opportunities where people can introduce their biases, basically. So yeah, I think like making people aware of that, doing training around that, having flexible working environments. I think we touched on it as part of the degree framework. So I know we know what Siemens has done in terms of that new way of working model, but it's allowing for when people obviously want to go out, potentially want to have families, etc., and having a pathway back into work that's supporting people, that enables them to continue their career without feeling that they need to stop working, or that flexible working or part-time working is a valid opportunity and an option for them. And I know Siemens UK definitely is committed to that, to considering and making that part of the process. And having role models, that was another one that came out, sharing people's stories, so encouraging people to share their stories in manufacturing. So like I say, not just women, but all across the range of diversity. So yeah, there's loads to do, isn't there? But it's really interesting that you don't want to put, say, I know that was a women in manufacturing event, and we definitely need to get more women into manufacturing. But for me, it's about making spaces where everybody feels safe and valued. And but as a result, then we encourage more people from different backgrounds to join us, because they see that actually it is a place where they would fit in, where they would enjoy working, and where they would feel safe and valued. So yeah.
Yeah, and I guess you at those type of events, you must learn about, because there must be initiatives obviously in place. I guess the question I was originally going to ask was around, and you mentioned it yourself, it's an industry, probably, as a whole. Are companies or manufacturers now sort of taking notice of the fact and being proactive on, looking for ways to do that, to resolve some of the things you raised just then?
I mean, I'm not sure how many have different policies. I know what Siemens is, we in the UK have got a gender equity programme that was introduced earlier this year, around commitments to supporting the degree target framework ultimately, but from a UK point of view. I don't know is the honest answer. I've not seen any publicized in such that it has reached me on different forums and things. I think it's definitely, there's more awareness now, or there's a growing awareness, but yeah, there's definitely still work to be done to get to have people really focus on it and commit to to doing things that are similar to what Siemens is committed to, in terms of as an example, having a 50% panel, of people interviewing, but also, when you're doing the interviews, that's a 50% split on genders, either way. But yeah, I don't know is the honest answer on. I've seen huge number of companies, talking about what they're doing. But yeah, that's not to say people aren't. It's just, that's maybe I've not heard about it.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels, and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.